Iminatrenteisiatina Legislature in Guam is called to order pursuant to Speaker's call to emergency session issued on March 17. In light of the urgent conditions related to school facilities that pose a threat to the health and safety of students and personnel of the Guam Department of Education, as reported by the community, the Guam Department of Education, and the Department of Public Health and Social Services. Assistant Majority Leader, Senator San Augustine, you are recognized.
Madam Speaker, notwithstanding the House rules, I move to adopt today's session agenda dated March 20th, 2023.
On that motion to adopt the legislative session agenda, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, motion carries. We're now on the Senator San Augustine, you're recognized.
Madam Speaker, I move to waive session agendas items 2 through 6.
That's a motion to waive the prayer, the recognition of a recipient of Malazan Mastakilu, the Inafresi, the singing of the Guam hymn, and the singing of the national hymn. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, motion carries. Senator San Augustine, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to waive session agendas items 8 through 13.
I'm sorry, we're gonna, we'll do roll call. Item
Okay.
7's roll call. Clerk, please take the roll call.
Senator Barnett. Senator Blas. Senator Brown. Senator Duenas. Vice Speaker Munya Barnes. Senator Fisher. Senator Parkinson. Senator Perez. Senator Kanata. Senator San Augustine. Senator Siniclis. Senator Shelton. Senator Taitagui. Speaker Terlahi. Madam Speaker, there is a quorum.
Situs Masi. Assistant Majority Leader, Senator San Augustine. Oh,
Thank you.
sorry, I'm sorry, Senator. If the clerk could please resume
Senator
the-
Lujan. Madam Speaker, there is a quorum.
Dispense it, Senator. Thank you, clerk. All right, so there is a quorum. We will proceed. Assistant Majority Leader, Senator San Augustine, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to waive session agendas items 8 through 13.
There's a motion to waive the call for approval of legislative journals, communications and petitions, messages from Imaga, Hagan, Guahan, reports of standing committees, reports of select committees, and introduction and first reading of bills and resolutions. Is there any objection to that motion to waive those items? Seeing no objection, motion carries. We're on motions. Assistant Majority Leader, Senator San Augustine, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to excuse senators not present for today's legislative session.
On the motion to excuse senators not present, is there any objection? Seeing no objection, motion carries. We're still under motions. Is there any other motion? Any other motions, Senator?
Thank you,
Barnett?
Madam Speaker.
Senator San Augustine?
Notwithstanding the House rules, I move to waive legislative session agenda items 15 through 16.
All right, we'll get to item 15 in just a second. Under motions, is there any other motion? Senator Barnett, you're recognized.
Yes, ma'am. I motion to place Bill 29-37 core on the session agenda.
As substituted by the Committee on...
As substituted, yes, by the Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture, and introduced by Senator Chris Barnett, Senator Sabina Perez, Speaker Therese Terlahi, Senator Roy Kanata, Senator William A. Parkinson, Senator Chris Duenas, Senator Tello Taitagui, Senator Frank Blas Jr., Senator Tom Fisher, Senator Joanne Brown, Senator Jesse A. Lujan, Vice Speaker Tina Rose Munya Barnes, and Senator Amanda L. Shelton. It's an act to renumber subsection 4721 entitled Variance, and to amend subsection 4719 and 4721 entitled Variance, all of Division 1, Article 7, Chapter 4, Title 26 of Guam Administrative Rules and Regs relative to updating sanitation regulations to promote health and safety of our schools, ma'am.
Thank you, Senator. I think that it should be as substituted and further amended by the committee.
Yes, ma'am. Bill number 29-37 core as substituted and further amended by the Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture.
All right. Is there any objection to that motion to add Bill number 29-37 COR onto the agenda as substituted and further amended? Seeing no objection, motion carries. Under motions, any other motions? Senator Sabina Perez, you're recognized.
Jesús Massey, Madam Speaker, I move to place Bill number 46-37 COR as amended by the Committee on Environment, Revenue and Taxation, Labor Procurement, Statistics, Research, and Planning, sponsored by myself, Senator Sabina Flores Perez, and co-sponsored by Senator Chris Barnett. It's an act to add a new section 5425.2 to Part A of Article 9, Chapter 5, Title 5, Guam Code annotated relative to providing temporary expedited procurement protest procedures for the acquisitions funded with American Rescue Plan Act, Education Stabilization Fund, or Head Start grant monies allotted to the Guam Department of Education onto the session agenda.
On that motion, is there any objection to adding Bill number 46-37 COR as amended by the committee onto the session agenda? Any objection? Seeing no objection, motion carries. For any other motions? Senator Barnett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to place Bill number 32-37 core as introduced by Senator Chris Duenas, an act to appropriate $30 million to the Guam Department of Education for school infrastructure repairs and maintenance. I move to place this Bill 32-37 core on the session agenda.
On that motion to place Bill number 37, core? Sorry, say it again. 32. Sorry, Bill number 32-37, core, onto the session agenda. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, motion carries. All right, colleagues. All right, is there any other motion? If not, Assistant Majority
Speaker?
Leader, Senator San Augustine, you are recognized.
I'd just like to make a motion. I don't know if it's appropriate, but on each of the bills that's been identified to be added, that they be in the committee of the whole, by the appropriate chairs, because there's many issues to be discussed in each bill. Thank you. And now you want me to go ahead and move to the next issues to address?
On that motion, can we address those motions on each bill when we get
Yes.
there? Or if we can do it now. There's a motion to, when we get to the agenda item on second reading of Bill 29-37 to resolve into the Committee of the Whole. On that motion, to resolve into the Committee of the Whole when we get to Bill number 29-37 COR. Is there any objection? There's an objection, Senator. Okay, there's an objection. So all in favor, please raise your hand to resolve into Committee of the Whole when we reached Bill 29-37 on the second reading folder. It's not an appropriations bill, so it's not automatic. All right, motion fails. There's a motion that when we reach Bill number 46-37 COR on the second reading, that we resolve into the committee of the whole for that bill. That is not an appropriations bill, so it is not automatic. On that motion, there's an objection. All in favor of resolving into the committee of the whole for bill number 46-37 COR, please raise your hand. All right. Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. Motion fails. On the motion, I'm sorry, colleagues, we're going to have to, I'm just receiving word from my office that we have now formally received a call into special session. So I think pursuant to the Organic Act and our rules, we need to resolve into that special session and address it. So we are right now in our emergency session. Is there a motion? Senator Taitakwi.
Madam Speaker, it's just a point of inquiry. We are in emergency session currently right now based on the letter we received for the second call to special session. There's nothing indicating that when we are in emergency session that we have to stall and address that another special session. And I mean, that's my interpretation. I could be wrong, but I would like legal to give us her interpretation on that before we move forward.
Madam Speaker, I think the second was for the purpose of getting legal advice if the special session, by virtue of the Organic Act, trumps your emergency session.
Point of inquiry, Madam Speaker.
Senator Barnett, state your point of inquiry.
Thank you. I know you know I'm new to this, but it's my understanding that we're currently already under a special session called the first special session call, which we met under that special session, and we recessed that special session until 2 p.m. tomorrow. So I'm just a little confused with all of these special session calls, because I said it this morning, we have an emergency. The Department of Education, the public schools need our help, after which we can be more than happy. We've already said we're going to address the pay raises by recessing until 2 p.m. tomorrow. So I would just like to note that, ma'am, that in the governor's letter, she said that we are using procedural rules to circumvent addressing the issue. I strongly disagree. We're not circumventing anything. In fact, we've confirmed that we're going to address this issue when we come back from recess on that first special session call at 2 p.m. tomorrow. So we're not shirking any responsibilities here. I know that we have a lot of questions about the pay raises, but right now on our plate is this emergency session to address the dire state of the public schools. Thank you, ma'am.
On your point of inquiry, that is correct. We are under recess on the first special session. We adjourned the second special session. We are under recess under the first until tomorrow at 2 p.m. But
Yes,
there has
ma'am.
been a new letter from the governor for a third special session.
Do I have to read that too?
When we get there,
Okay. I mean, I'm just saying we're trying to
Senator, yeah.
We're trying to
Senator.
address the emergency in our schools, and I would just ask that, they withhold from sending a special session request every 5 minutes and just let us conduct the duties and responsibilities
Senator.
of the legislature in this emergency session, ma'am.
We're
Thank
under
you.
motions. Senator Taitukwi, have you resolved your issues? So we are now, I'm asking if there's a motion.
No, Madam Speaker, you asked if I resolved my issue. No, I asked for a short recess so we can confer with legal.
Can you please confer with legal?
Right, I didn't know we
Senator
were in a
Fisher,
short
do you have
recess.
a motion?
Are we in, okay.
Senator Fisher,
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I haven't received a copy of this third letter. Is that being published now?
should be.
Well,
We just received it as well, so
I'm sorry, ma'am.
we just received it as well. So I'm going to see if it's been put up.
Could we have a short recess until it's published?
Madam Speaker, before we go to recess, I'd like to
I
ask
think I've got
a
a motion on the floor.
point of inquiry.
It is being processed right now to messages and comms. All right. Thank you, Senator. Senator
Thank you.
San Augustine is a point of inquiry.
I have an inquiry. Number one, we are on recess for the first session. And I'd like to make sure that our legal advises us. Can we go into another session when we still have a session pending? You can't have sessions overlap each other. And I just wanted to make sure legal comes up with that. Thank you.
Thank you. We're on a 2-minute recess. our recess in our emergency session. I believe copies have been passed out of correspondence that we have received during our emergency session. Is there a motion?
Madam Speaker, I'm still waiting for the response, legal opinion, so it's be sent to the body. She did tell me, advise me about the motion. I mean, the point of inquiry I asked, I'd like it to be announced exactly if we're legally right to be in recess and then have a session in between when we're in recess. Because when you're in recess, everything pauses until you get back and you finish off your recess and you adjourn that one, then you can go into the next session. Right now, we're in an emergency session when we reset from session. I
We're in
only
an
asked that
emergency
question.
session right now. We are also in recess from a special session number 1. Yes.
So your opinion is we can have recess from a session and go into another session. Is that what you're saying?
Recess from a special session and resume our and be in
Okay.
an emergency session? You mean, that's what we're doing, right? Yes.
That's what.
Is there a contrary advice that you have received from
No,
our council?
I'm asking for legal to give us
All right.
that official legal
Okay.
opinion. That's what I was waiting
All
for.
right. Is there, and there's no motion?
Nope.
Senator Parkinson?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to recess till 3 p.m. tomorrow while we figure out what's going on with whether or not this is a legally allowed session and whether we square away all these special sessions.
On the motion to recess the emergency session until 3 p.m. tomorrow, is there an objection? There's an objection. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, never mind. Motion fails. All right. We are going to recess our emergency session temporarily until we conclude the special session, the governor's call into the third special session. And she is calling us into a third special session pursuant to her powers under the Organic Act. So,
Point of information, Madam Speaker, I just want to clarify, because we asked the same thing from the Republican caucus this morning of legal counsel, whether or not we could be recessed from the first call to special session and recess that session and conduct our business under the emergency session. And that was concurred that is absolutely doable and allowable. So I just wanted to make sure that the public understands what we're doing now is because the governor has called a third special session. Meanwhile, we are in a first special session recess. We will dispose of the governor's third call, but it is perfectly appropriate for us to be in the governor's first call to special session, having recessed until 2 p.m. tomorrow, and conduct our emergency session concurrent. So that is the legal counsel's advice that I got this morning, and I wanted to make sure that there's no confusion in terms of questions that have been placed on the floor. Si Dios Masi, Madam Speaker.
Si Dios Masi. All right. We're going to recess until 3:10 p.m.